Hey guys, Chad Hoover, Icast 2022. We're about to head into my favorite part of the show, which is the new product showcase. Now, the new product showcase is an opportunity for media, editorial, and buyers to come in, pick up a ballot, and then go check out all of the new products before everybody else gets to see them, and we get to vote for best in certain classes. So let's head into the new product showcase and see what's new for 22. All right, so the way that this works is we basically get a new product showcase ballot. We get to go through and vote for our favorites in each of the classes. I'm actually gonna put this away for right now, and I'm gonna take you guys along, go walk through and just kind of run and gun and talk about some of the new stuff that's here, and I'll go back through and vote after the fact. So let's check out the new product showcase, Icast 2022. You know, one of the things that happens at Icast is you come across some products that are like really innovative and they make you go, holy cow. And then you come across some products that kind of throw you for a loop, make you scratch your head a little bit, you don't quite understand. And this new Trident Explorer Watercraft is kind of one of those products. I get the idea, okay? It's got a wheel in it, it's got a huge amount of stability, a lot of storage, it's got a long center nose in it to give you some extra stability, but you pedal it with a paddle with your feet. So you paddle it, and I tried it on the water today at the new product showcase. You know, and I'm never gonna be one of those guys that like hates on things, especially when somebody's put that much time, effort, and energy into really, you know, bringing an idea or something that's a passion of theirs to life. But it just seemed kind of awkward to me. It never really got to where it felt normal. And I see a lot of problems like with your rod hitting the paddle when you're casting. It seems to be a little bit loud from the material that it's made from. And all of the compartments, anytime you put like a drink holder or a tackle box or something in it, anytime you stand up and move around, all that stuff seems to rattle, and maybe that's something they're gonna address in the future. Again, it's one of those things that I love in concept. I like the idea that people are thinking outside of the box. I'm just not exactly sure that the paddling with your feet thing is gonna be something that I could really get into, but I'd be interested in hearing your thoughts. So you guys comment below about this Trident Explorer Watercraft. I'll put a link in the description box to one of his videos talking about it, and then I'll have a video coming out in a couple of days where I actually got on the water and had a chance to try this thing out. But you guys tell me what you think about the concept of taking this paddle, sticking it in this thing right here into a pivot point, putting your feet in here and pedaling with your feet. Again, I tried it today. It was a little awkward. Maybe it's one of those things if you spend enough time. I do like the seat design, the fold up and get out of the way concept. That's really clever. But overall, I just don't understand how it would ever become intuitive to really pedal with my feet. So let's go take a look at some more stuff. So this is a really interesting offering from the folks at Boat. Now, one of the things that I like about what Boat's doing is they're doing total watercraft solutions. They're putting their rod bars in there, they're putting the seats together, they're developing the integration of pedal drives and things like that. So this is actually a hard shell, a stand-up paddleboard kind of kayak crossover deal. What I really like about this setup is something that they came up with for their inflatable boats, pun intended, which is they came up with this inflatable seat. And if you notice, the seat kind of slopes back. And with a pedal drive boat, that's one of the things that you really want to do. You guys will hear me talk about the hip to ankle, that angle, that hip, knee, ankle alignment or downhill thing. Well, the other way to accomplish that is to put a little bit of a recline in the seat, but still have your seat back where you still have plenty of support. So I think Boat hit it out of the park really well with this seat, so much so that they're actually using their inflatable seat on their non-inflatable watercraft. I really love this rudder design where you can mount it right to the side of the seat. It's easy to maneuver. This is kind of like similar to what Hobie did with their IS series and what they did with their Lynx. But I really like seeing it move over to the other watercraft in the space. I like how they've done the integration of the pedal drive. It's really tight. I think last year Boat came to market with a pedal drive that had a little bit of slop in it, if for lack of a better word. This year they seem to really tighten that up. Got on the water in the Bug Slayer version of this today. Thing performed really well. It's definitely something I can see myself fishing from. And it's just one of those things that I really love seeing people push the envelope. And this inflatable seat is definitely pushing the envelope, because one of the holdbacks to inflatable watercraft is, yes, you could pack it up to take it on the water with you, but all the stuff to make it fishable, you'd have to have it a whole nother bag, and because they've made an inflatable seat, now you can pack everything down into one bag and take it on an airplane to go somewhere and have everything you need with you to go fishing. So that is the Boat Bug Slinger in the Gator Shell model. All right, guys, so I had a really good opportunity to get on the water with the Jackson Knarr today, so I'll be releasing that video of my full overview. I'll put the link to that in the description box, but here's their boat as it's imagined, not in the prototype phase like I got to paddle it the 2 times. As you can see here on the tri-track, they've both got a rod holder mounted on the surface track, and then they're actually putting these little tackle boxes, you know, off to the side. Whoops, I don't know what I'm doing wrong here, but anyway, little tackle box. I don't have the I think I'm opening it from the wrong side. Anyway, I'll have to take a minute and figure it out. But basically the way that they've got it set up is they're using the side of the track to get additional mounting surface. And a lot of times when you're covering your track up, one of the things that you realize is you can only put things so close together. But with this tri-track where you can use the side on the inside and the outside and the top, you've got a lot more riggability. But just coming on back, what I was talking about in my other video is I really feel like this frame has an opportunity to be a little higher, which will give you a more pleasant paddling experience. And if you look the way that it works on the tracks, all you really have to do is take this thing out, get a longer bolt, and put like a set of tri-track, 80-20 aluminum extrusion or something like that directly on the track, a wood block, and you can get that, or a wood block or something like that, and you can get that extra seat height, throw a couple of kayak cushions on there. But if you really just kind of take a look down the boat, this thing has got a really clean layout. It's got like probably more access than I've seen in any other boat out there as far as the access that you can get to the inside of the hull, the oversized openings. And they've done a really good job of putting this rudder top mounted where you can make all your adjustments. You don't necessarily have to get inside the boat. If you have any kind of problem, you can tighten up slack. You can take the rudder on and off, you can replace it. And then again, that hatch just comes right over the top, locks with these slides. Still got a really nice handle in the back. Opportunity to put your power pole or your torpedo motor mount back here. Spacious tank well. They've got this bar in the back that will allow you to do bunches of rod holder. Honestly, this thing is the Lego blocks for kayak anglers. So a lot of opportunity to make it yours. Left and right hand side rudder controls. The fluid nature of their new pedal drive, their version 4, or whatever they call it, the Mark IV, is by far the best I've ever seen in a Jackson kayak. And I just think that they did a really good job of making a bigger water, bigger cockpit, bigger dude offering. So this boat is definitely big dude approved. One of the questions, criticisms, concerns is the price point, but I do think this boat is right in line with the price point for all the other boats in its class, for a little over $4,000. And what you get with it, you know, you're definitely going to get what you pay for, and you're going to pay for what you get. But this thing is an awesome offering to the kayak fishing community. But I said it in my last video, and I said in almost all of my kayak fishing overview review videos, the best way to figure out if this boat is right for you is to find a buddy, find a Jackson Pro staffer, contact a dealer, and see if you can get in this boat, get your butt in this boat, because the best way to know that you're going to love the kayak that you buy is to try before you buy. So let's take a look at the rest of the new product showcase and see if we can't find something interesting in the tackle or accessory department. All right, guys, so let me talk to you about this pretty interesting offering. I actually got to see the guy throwing this at the on water today. The problem was it was such a popular lure. There was a line that was 30, 45 minutes long just to throw this thing, but we got to watch it. We got to see him cast it. We got to see the action on the water. I've always said I don't think you can make a spook too big, but the folks from Dark Water Fishing have really made this Astro Spook about as big as any spook that I've ever seen that's not a stunt lure. The thing's got a great action, and they say they've caught everything from snook to largemouth to tarpon and everything in between. So I'm actually looking forward to picking up a few of these. I think it'll make a great musky lure, but I want to throw this for some big old Alabama bucket mouth. I think they're gonna slurp this thing. Well, it's no surprise that the folks at Z-Man have actually knocked it out of the park again. A lot of you guys know me as a bass fisherman, and if you've been around for a long time, you know that I love saltwater fishing. In fact, I got my start in saltwater fishing, and now that I'm kind of relocating to North Alabama, I'm a lot closer to the coast. We're actually doing a lot more saltwater fishing. We're gonna do it this weekend. So check this thing out. This is a kicker crab from the folks at Z-Man, and what it is it's a crab profile, And when you swim it along, a lot of times what a crab does is has one claw that kind of drags along behind it. So they've basically made the leg like a paddle tail. So as you swim this thing along with the current, the tide, or the wind, it's gonna look like from the bottom that profile of a fiddler crab or a small crab, and redfish just can't stand small crabs swimming on the surface. So that thing right there is going to be a killer in saltwater. It's probably gonna catch everything that swims, from snook to speckled trout to triple tail to redfish to everything in between. In fact, I would imagine if you use a little bit beefier hook and you nose hook that thing, you could probably catch a tarpon on it as well, because they're really well known for slurping little small crabs off the surface. So I'm actually looking forward to trying this thing out. It's the kicker crabs from the folks at Z-Man. All right, guys, so here's another cool offering from the folks at Z-Man. This is the Hellraiser, and what it is it's basically a pencil-style popper bait that's got a scrounger slash chatterbait blade on the back of it and 2 drop-down treble hooks. This thing, I saw it on the water today, but again, there was such a line that I couldn't even work my way in to try it out, but I got to check out the action. It looks crazier out of the water, but it's got an even crazier action in the water. I can't wait to check out the Hellraiser from Z-Man. All right, guys, so I'm about to show you 2 really cool offerings from the same company. First, I'm gonna show you this guy right here, and then I'm gonna show you this dude right here. First off, we've got the G-Rat Baits fighting fish. And so what they've done is they've taken the head with a bill on it, like a crankbait style bill, a skirt, and then they've set it up to where you can rig their swim baits on there. A lot of you guys don't know this because I don't talk about it a lot, but I'm kind of a closet swim bait fanatic. And my good buddy Clay Guida, UFC legend Clay Guida, turned me onto G-Rat lures a few years ago, and they've kind of been one of my secrets, right? But here's what's pretty cool. This thing right here is awesome because you're gonna be able to take a soft plastic tail that's replaceable. You're gonna be able to rig it up on a wake bait or a square bill, shallow diver style head. You're gonna get the action of the skirt when you stop it, and you're gonna get that kicking action that the G-Rat swim baits are really known for. But then this thing right here is pretty cool. I'm a big fan of hybridized lures. I've done it for years myself, and I think a lot of us do that. One of the problems with a lot of buzz baits is with the R-bend, when you catch a big fish in it, you tend to straighten the wire out where the R-bend is. So what these guys have done is they've basically taken that plopper or that tail spin type bait, they've rigged it up on a buzz bait frame, and then they've gone with a twist instead of an R-bend, which is gonna allow you to fight and land a lot bigger fish without straightening that blade out. The other thing that's gonna give you the ability to do is tune this blade a lot more, because you're not gonna have to worry about pulling that R-bend off to the left or right. You can simply tune the blade by tweaking it. So again, I've been using the G-Rat swim baits on the down low because my buddy Clay turned me onto them. As you guys all know, I'm a big fan of the Whopper Plopper. I've known Larry Dahlberg for years. I got to throw some of the early prototypes. I've caught some monster bass on it. But when you take the combination of a surface disturbance, being able to reel it a little bit slower, add that plopper style tail, I can't wait to see what this thing will do on the water. All right, so in my hand, I have the new Berkley Slobber Knocker. And you probably ask yourself, what more could you really do with a bladed jig? Well, first of all, you can give it a name that everybody in the industry is going to be talking about, because slobber knocker is just not a name you hear every day in fishing. But what they've done is they've created a unique jig head profile, and they've attached the blade on a lateral slide that allows it to go back and forth. So when this thing starts to flutter or it starts to chatter, it can't help but kick not only the blade back and forth, but kick the body back and forth to add a little bit more side-to-side action. They've added in a really nice integrated trailer keeper on here and a silicone skirt, which is going to give this thing a lot of action in the water. So I don't know what this thing is going to do yet, but just from looking at it, looking at the profile and the bend in the blade and the shape of it and how it allows the head to articulate, I imagine this thing is going to have a really good side-to-side search profile. I also imagine it's going to run to one side and then kind of lose bite and kind of skip and kick back to the middle. So that's going to create a really erratic action. So I'm looking forward to trying out this new, Berkley Slobber Knocker. I like the lure. I'm still not sure I like the name. All right, so any of you guys that have known me for very long know that I'm a big fan of the rat lures. And one of the biggest reasons that I'm a fan of the rat lures is because I grew up in the country where I got to see when they cut crops and all those field mice try to make it across a creek, and when 10 field mice hit the creek and only 3 make it to the other side, bass just absolutely love rats and they love mice. I'm also really good friends with Bill Seamantel, who developed the lures in the BBZ series in the beginning and the actual rat that started it all. Well, Bill has moved to greener pastures or new pastures or whatever you want to call it, and he's working with these folks from the Fish Lab and decided to develop a BBZ series in combination with their new lure line launch. And here's what's really cool about this thing. It takes the rat lure and the plopper concept, or the rotating rear foot similar to a whopper plopper or a Chapo or some of those other baits, and combines it into one lure. I also like the fact that this bait has rocker in it, built in. So that way when you reel it, the nose is gonna sit up a little bit, which is gonna force the back end down, and so when it starts plopping, it's really gonna dig in, put off a nice wake. This thing is gonna be killer for bass, but it's also gonna be killer for muskie and pike and other, you know, really aggressive game fish that like to hit surface lures, and surface lures are really aggressively. So I'm a big fan of the whopper plopper. I'm a big fan of top waters. I've loved rat lures for years, so it's gonna be interesting to try this new rat out from the folks at Fish Lab, the Bio Rat. All right, so there's 2 reasons I could not walk past this lure. First and foremost, it looks like you could fillet it and cook it and eat it. It's that realistic. And this is the new KGB Chad Shad. So not only is it an awesome looking bait, it's got my name in it. So how could it not catch fish? You know what I'm saying? Like, they literally put my name in it, you know what I'm saying? Now, I'm not sure that the whole KGB thing was good with the whole Russia thing we got going on right now, but the KGB Chad Shad is one of the most realistic swim baits that I've seen yet. If you really look at the design and the shape, it's hard to imagine that this thing doesn't absolutely kill it in the water. I am a big fan of these fiber style tails, or the natural tails. Man, this thing looks juicy. I can't wait to try out the new KGB Chad Shad. You guys got to look this thing up, because it's one of the most, if not the most realistic looking bait that I've seen here at the new product showcase. All right, guys, so one of the oldest lures in my arsenal, one of the ones that's the most dependable, if you watch me, you know this, is the Yamamoto original Senko. Well, now they've got some new stuff that I'm really excited to talk about. I've had a couple of these and been having to fish them on the down low, but check this out. This is a Ned Senko. That thing right there has probably got more action that I'm seeing in any Ned rig setup. So you're gonna take the effectiveness of a Senko and the effectiveness of a Ned rig and combine them into one. But on top of that, they've also come out with a new stick bait. This is basically called the Slinko floater. So obviously it gets its name from looking something like a slinky and something like a Senko, but it's a floater. But look at that thing. Look at the action from me just holding it after having 2-3 cups of coffee. That's the only action being added to that right now. And that thing right there is deadly. And what's cool about it is you've got a built-in reinforced head for doing like Ned rigs, and you've got a reinforced head for doing Nico rigs and things like that. But you've also got a beefed up area in the center of the bait for wacky rigging, for Texas rigging and things like that, for the location of the hook. So I cannot wait to throw this thing. So this is the Slinko floater from the folks at Yamamoto. 2 more lures that they're bringing to the market today is they've got a 5-inch shad-shaped worm, which is basically like if you took a drop shot bait and made it oversized, or if you took a fluke and a worm and a drop shot bait and kind of merged them together. But look at the action in that thing. It's just unreal how much that thing just kicks around. I can only imagine that you could skip it, rip it, flip it, jerk it. You could Texas rig it. You could probably even nose hook this thing and get some violent strikes when those fish are a little bit harder to catch around docks. Just skip it up under there and let the weight of the hook kind of pull it down. Again, one of those baits I can't wait to throw. And then they've got the new Yamamoto Speed Senko. In fact, I was having a conversation with a couple of dudes here this morning, and they were asking me, man, we're having a hard time catching fish here in Florida. It's hot. I was like, throw a speed worm or one of those worms that you can throw out, let it hit the bottom, raise your rod tip up and slow reel it. But look at the hook on that tail. Look at the amount of action. I imagine that this thing is not only going to kick back and forth, but it's going to kind of create an arc. But then you're going to have the same qualities that you're going to have in a Senko. You're going to have the ability, after that tail is torn up, to then rebait and use that thing as a Senko. So I can't wait to get these 4 new offerings from Yamamoto out on the water, especially this new Speed Senko. That thing just looks juicy. All right, guys, so I'm going to be doing so many Z-Man lures here, you're going to think that I've got some kind of special relationship with Z-Man, which I don't. But Z-Man, listen, if you call your boy. I love your stuff. But anyway, when you thought that Z-Man had made everything that they could already make that was awesome and then come up with cool names, they did it again with the GOAT toads. And so check this thing out. It's a toad that's got a little bit longer, slender profile, which I've said for years would come through grass better, would look more like a frog. Frogs aren't actually that wide, but they can get away with that because with their Elastec plastic, not only does this thing not need as much surface area to float, but it can actually float. So what's cool about this thing is you can rip it, you can burn it, and then you can stop it and let it sit there in the strike zone. If a fish blows up, you can just drop your rod tip if they miss it. This thing is probably gonna just be sitting there, the legs are gonna be undulating, and it's gonna basically be screaming, hit me again. So I haven't had a chance to get this thing out on the water yet. They just introduced it here. Got a nice hook pocket, got some really cool looking feet. Looks like it's got some agitators on the back of it, a really nice shape. I can only imagine that this thing is going to be a dream when it comes to buzzing on the surface like all toads are. So if you haven't done so yet, be sure to check out the GOAT toads from the folks at Z-Man, and I promise you, I'll be putting this thing through the paces as soon as it's available. All right, guys, so it didn't happen on purpose, but I inadvertently ended up saving the best for last. Now, there's a lot of great products here, but we only had so much time, and as I walked around the show, there's a lot of things that I'm gonna go check out during the show, but it just didn't jump out as like, oh my gosh, that's a new product, and I gotta talk about it. But even though this is not a new product per se, in that the Blackpack Pro was released a few weeks ago, and you guys are probably sick of hearing me talking about it on my YouTube channel, I really didn't think they could make the Blackpack Pro any better, but they did. They made it better by offering it in a new color way, actually 2 new colorways. I'm not exactly sure how they're gonna release it, whether it's gonna be a limited edition or a limited run, but they're gonna be available in select numbers at retailers this fall. And so they've come out with this kind of coyote tan. They also have an olive green. And not only are they making the Blackpack Pro in those colors, but they're also making the rod holders and even all the associated accessories that go with it in the desert tan and the green. So what's kind of awesome about that is now you can get the Blackpack Pro in desert tan, but what's not so awesome about it is now I'm gonna have to get another Blackpack Pro in desert tan, and then one in green. And then I'm gonna have to get all these new accessories in different colors, but it's also awesome at the same time. So let me give you a quick run through of the Blackpack Pros if you haven't seen them yet. So what's really cool about the Blackpack is it's infinitely riggable and re-riggable, meaning with the way that this gridlock system works is this is the back of where you put a screw in. So if you decide you want to move this over here, you get tired of 2 latches and you want to go to 1, you don't like the side, you basically can change everything. If it opens this way, but now you want it to open that way, you can move things around. You've got these handles that allow you to pick the box up and carry it. They also have, you know, the way to hook them with the Omni hook right off the bungee. You've got the corner hooks for the Omni hooks. You've got the ability to put these rod holders in an infinite number of like locations and relocations. As you can see here, they got one in the high position, one in the middle position, and then one in the bottom position. You got 2 in the high position, 1 in the middle position. You can literally configure and reconfigure the Blackpack Pro infinitely. And what's really cool about this thing is it comes in a 16 by 16, a 13 by 16, and the new, smaller, more compact 13 by 13 model. So if you want to learn more about the Blackpack Pro, how you can get one in the new limited edition or short edition, I don't know what they're going to call it, to be honest with you, in this exclusive desert tan, coyote tan, and olive green, check out the Yak Attack website at yakattack.us or visit your local Yak Attack dealer. But the Blackpack Pro is a must-have for kayak anglers. I was pretty much done talking, or at least I thought I was done talking about the Blackpack, and all of a sudden was like, bro, you're not gonna talk about the new Roto Lock? And so check this out. Not only is this thing one of the most versatile tackle management and rod management platforms on the market, but it's also got this new setup right here called the Roto Lock, where you can actually just unlock it, rotate it, and relock it. So if you have your rods in a vertical orientation, you're going down the river and you want to lay them back, you can just unlock the Roto Lock, lay that rod holder back, lock it back in place, and now your rods are in a horizontal location or orientation. And then with the tether hook, you just hook that to your rod, and you don't have to worry about when you're paddling past a tree and it grabs a hold to one of your guides or your braided line. It doesn't pull your rod out of the rod holder. So that's the new Roto Lock feature from the folks at Yak Attack. So again, this thing is so packed with features. I almost forgot to tell you about one of the cool new features from Yak Attack. Thanks, Austin.